It's been a minute since I've been on YouTube or anything in general, as far as like posting content wise. And I figured I'd make a return. It's a new month, new year, February. It's been a lot that has transpired, a lot that has changed and taken place since shoot, I would say beginning of like January, but actually really even beyond that. Like October, November of 2024. And so, um, yeah, a lot has changed for me as a person. I've changed a whole lot, you know. Um, I'm not, I'm not gonna say I'm not the person that I used to be at all, but there's some things in me that had to die. Like some things, some desires, some stuff that I was doing, some stuff that I was consuming. Yeah, a lot of that had to die. It had to die. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. So most people know me as a artist. Some people know me beyond just music. A lot of people know me as a person, human being, someone that they have either worked with, went to school with, or just grew up in the hood with. Most people probably know me throughout my life from the hood. A lot of people know me as being the son of Detroit hip hop legend Big Herc, right? And through that, I gained a lot of support, a lot of love and respect from people. But also I gained that as well from just being who I am as well too. Like I could say that I've always been a likable person. I can definitely say that. Like I feel like I've always carried myself in a way that would be very attracting. Like people would be like, "Yeah, that's my boy right there. That's my dog. That's my," you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man. But I want to talk about why I went gospel. So, uh, October 2024 was the month of my wedding. Right, my wife and I we got married that year. Prior to that, I want to say probably a couple months before we um we was looking for a spiritual counselor, right? And her best friend from many years, um, her best friend's mother, she had referred us to a pastor who was actually now my pastor, uh, Pastor Michael Holloway, really good guy. And we was looking for some spiritual counseling, but even aside from that, we was also looking for a church home. And one of the things that my wife always has expressed when it came to marriage was that she wouldn't marry me if I was not a follower of God, if I didn't have a belief in Him, like a true belief, right? And I would say this because I feel like a lot of people have this. Majority of people in the world have this. They have a belief that there's a God. They have the belief that there's a creator. But me, myself, I didn't believe in Jesus. I didn't have a faith in Jesus. I thought Jesus was a myth. I really did, you know, but so that was one of the things I just like I could never could commit to. Like, yeah, I believe in God. I know it's a creator. I always believed that there was a reason all of these things are here in this world. The trees, the land, the grass, even down to like the fruit and vegetables that grow. Like I knew that there had to be something that always existed before any of us was put into this earth in order for those things to come into fruition, right? Like it didn't just randomly just pop out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Some people have a belief of the quote unquote Big Bang theory, and when it comes to that, the way I look at that and see that is it just it's just the way that just seems like kind of a, almost just accident, and nothing is on accident. Like the reason why all of us is here is not none of it. None of the things that we go through is on accident. We all exist for a reason and a purpose. And so to go back to my story, I know I probably got a little bit left field, but yeah, we yeah, we found this spiritual counselor uh through my wife's best friend, best friend's mother that she referred us to. We started going to him, to have our spiritual counseling before marriage because marriage is a spiritual thing. Yes, it is physically shown and done, far as like the vows being made, the walking down the aisle, all the whole like ceremony. But a marriage is very spiritual. It's not just something that you do because it look good. I know a lot of people see movies, the wedding look good with the dress, the suits, and things like that, and all this type of stuff that goes on. All the fancy decor, all of that stuff. But a marriage is very spiritual. And it's something that is God ordained. So we went to, we went to spiritual counsel. We went to get spiritual counseling a couple months before our marriage. And the pastor that we went to, that was referred to, that was referred to us by my wife's best friend's mother. He counseled us through it. One of the first conversations we had was over the phone, as far as like to actually schedule the counseling, and I just gave him a little bit of information about me and my wife, about the marriage and things like that, and you know, I can't remember exactly everything that was said in the conversation, but I remember him saying one of the things. He was like, he's asking I think he asked if we live together, and I said yes, we do, and he was telling us how we aren't supposed to be sleeping, around or whatever, right? Because sex before marriage is a sin, sexual immorality. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Judy in the chat. How you doing, Judy? Um, so yeah, we were living in sexual sin. For as long as we've been together, we had been together prior to marriage, like for about a good um 5 to 6 years. And so when he told me that, and honestly, I really felt a lot of conviction in that moment because I'm like, wow, I'm, we are planning to get married. We are trying to do the right thing. One of the things that God ordained, but what we are doing now isn't honoring God. It isn't honoring Him. And so we were given instruction by our now pastor at the time, who wasn't our pastor yet, to actually abstain from sex, right? Mind you, this is a couple months before our wedding, you know. Prior to that, we was doing a lot of things that was outside of the covenant. And yeah, so we were doing that. You know what I'm saying? We proceeded to start actually, not having sex while we were together until up until our wedding day. And honestly, it was really tough. It was challenging, and but it was something that I ended up being able to do. We both ended up being able to do. You know what I mean? And for the first time ever, I think I really have felt something spiritual, like start to like change and grow within me. And then once I started actually coming to church, to his church, we went to visit his church, of course. When I first went in, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I wasn't really into church. I wasn't really into like the service, even the worship like that. I look the worship a little bit, but the service and the sermons and stuff, I just wasn't really into it. It wasn't moving me that much. But more as I began to come more and really just like listen to the word and listen to what it is that he was preaching, like the sermons that were like speaking about sin and certain things that was actually that people do, I started feeling even more conviction because I'm like, dang, this pastor is preaching about being sober, you know. Am I at the time and at the time, I was just kind of really breaking away from being sober, like I went I was doing smoking weed. I was a weed smoker. Not super heavy, not like a Wiz Khalifa, but I was a weed smoker. I took smoked weed, I took gummies, I took all those, those things. And, I had a lot that I was doing sinful wise. I was still committing, you know, prior to the marriage. Like I had this stronghold of lust. Like I was really committing, I was really in bondage to lust. Like I had a strong porn addiction all the way from a young age, like a young kid, all the way up until 20, that was 2024. So all the way up until the age of 29, the age of 29 was when I finally got rid of this addiction for porn, you know? And I'm just, it's like, man, to be able to really hear these messages and sermons from from the pastor really just, it started really shaping me and molding me and really giving me insight on like how I'm really supposed to live. And so I really made it my business to like truly surrender to Christ and truly become committed to God because it's one thing to claim and say that you believe in God, but it's another thing to live in a way that's not pleasing to God. And I was living in that way for a long time, you know, but He's so merciful, He's so gracious. He's so merciful and gracious for me to be able to come out of that, to actually not be stuck in that anymore. Like I was really stuck in bondage, like for real. And I'm just grateful for what God has done, man. I'm really grateful. And, you know, The Lord has truly, like, brought me to a place that I didn't think I would be in, like, I had all these aspirations and things of the world, and now it's just I don't really have those desires, you know? Like, even the things I rap about. Let me tell you, when I was rapping, I say about a good couple years ago, when I was rapping, man, I used to always rap about just money and trying to get the bag, take care of family, you know what I'm saying? But don't get me wrong, I'm still about getting a bag and taking care of money. I mean, I'm still about getting a bag and taking care of family, but I'm not just so money driven when it come to living. And that's something that I was actually putting over the Lord. And so I stopped actually rapping for a little bit, once I actually had got married, I had to take a pause and really just like take a little bit of a hiatus and really ask God, like, Lord, what is it that you want me to do with my gift? Because rapping is really my gift. And I know it is, you know what I'm saying? Because it's something that even when I tried to get away from it, I just couldn't. But now I'm in this place where now where I rap, man, and I do it for the Lord. It's not for any fame or anything like that. I just do it because God has gifted me with this talent to use it. And I truly just love to glorify the Lord when I rap. You know what I'm saying? Like I enjoy it, you know? Yeah. So what changed is, man, I got married, you know? Like my wife, I gotta say this. I give a lot of credit to God at the end of the day because without him, I'm nothing. Like he is the one that really like brought me out of the things that I was stuck in, the sins I was in, the things I was in bondage to. But man, if it wasn't for my wife telling me that she wasn't gonna marry me, if I didn't really have a a, um a true belief in God and in the Lord, um, we wouldn't be together right now, honestly. And honestly, I had to pray. I really I think this is what really changed for me, you know. When I prayed, like I will never forget this. Me and her, we had like a conversation, kind of bit of it got a little bit heated, an argument, right? It was in the morning. I think the devil was really trying to like get to me because he seen that I was really trying to get closer to God, and if I started having these doubts again, like I started like trying to go to church and things like that. And this was at another church beside from the church I'm at now. And yeah, one day after me and my wife had that conversation, because I didn't want to lose out on a good woman because of I didn't have a faith in our Creator. I didn't have a faith in the Lord. I didn't have a faith in the life that I'm supposed to actually live. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that she was living that life, like we both were in sin, you know. But yeah, man, a good woman will get you right for sure, like definitely. And I'm so grateful for her. But I had to really pray that day after that conversation me and her had, and it really helped. Like that prayer, I think that God really worked through that prayer. Like He really answered that prayer and actually brought me to where I needed to be. You know, and since then, man, I just been walking with God, and I just been, pressing towards him, you know. It's not to say I still don't have certain struggles. Like I have my moments sometimes where there's certain things that I think about I used to do. It kind of be in the back of my mind, but it's just hovering. It's not nothing that I miss. I know that I had to fear God and that anything that I do right now is a reflection of Him. The Lord's, said we was made in His image. So God telling us that we are made in His image means that we are designed to live in a way that He intended for us to live. And so when I think about that, I have to really ask myself, if I do certain things, is it me living in His image, or is it me? We're made in the image of God, and so in His likeness. And so when I do certain things and how I move, I have to really like ask myself, is this God like? Is this Christ like? The things that I do, the things that I listen to, and that's what really changed. What really changed is that I really wanted to live for the Lord, and I really wanted to live a life that God has designed for us to live. You know, Christ died for us because the wages of sin is death. And so, if God is a just God, justice has to be served for the sin we committed, for the crime we committed. We sin against God, and none of us could have paid that paid that price. None of us, because we still would have. It wouldn't have been enough. It wouldn't have took. Shoot, you could do the whole world population. None of us still wouldn't have been able to pay that price. Not in full. We still wouldn't have been able to pay the price. There had to have been a sacrifice. And Christ was that sacrifice. He's the sacrificial lamb. And so I'm just grateful for God, man, and where He's brought me to, because He truly is like helped me be who I am. And yeah, so I went gospel because it just feels right to live for God. And I'm just really excited about what God's doing in my life and how He's using me right now. You know, I'm really excited about how He's using me, and I'm really grateful because you don't have to. You know,